Let's start off by talking about belongings in your daily life. Do you prefer having fewer or more belongings in your daily life?
I think personally for me, I'd prefer having fewer belongings just because I feel like it would be more easier to deal with on a daily basis, especially when it comes with technology, trying to decide like if I had a laptop and an iPad and a phone, I have all three of like the same kind of thing. I just think it would be easier to function in life with less.
What things can you not live without?
My phone. I can't live without my phone. What else can't I live without? Water, always staying hydrated, and my cats.
How do you organize your belongings?
Sometimes I do it by color. If it was like things related to books, I like to organize them by colors on the shelves. Yeah.
Now let's talk about technology in modern life. How has technology changed your life?
I think technology has changed my life in so many different ways. One of them being the ability to connect with people. I have a lot of long distance friends, and technology has allowed me to stay in touch with those people. And even though they're not with you personally, you do feel like you never miss that connection because of technology. And I think work-related technology offers me a lot of opportunity to connect and network with many different kind of people.
Would you like to have more technology in your life or less technology in your life?
I personally would like to have less technology in my life just because I feel like technology sometimes defeats the purpose of humanity in a sense of if there's too much of it, like nowadays with the AI and all of that, it's kind of starting to replace human beings in a sense. And I would like to depend less on technology generally.
Do you think technology has made your life better now than in the past when you had less technology?
Yes, to a certain extent, just because I feel like back then we didn't have Instagram, we didn't have those social media, the iconic social media platforms that all young teenagers use. And those are the main platforms people are using now to connect with people and to network. And especially if you're running your own business, for example, like trying to share your music or share art, that's how you come out to a bigger platform. So definitely I feel like it has a bigger advantage than what we had in the past.
Now let's talk about reading. Do you enjoy reading?
I do enjoy reading, but I wish I did more of it. I feel like with technology and all the modern things coming up, I feel like I used to read more as a child, and I'm trying to get back into it. Some of the things I love reading about are self-help books. Those are my favorite.
Now let's talk about outdoor activities. What activities do you like to do outdoors?
Outdoors, I love to go running sometimes. I like to do morning yogas. I've had yogas by the beach before. I really love joining group classes outdoors as well. I once did this thing where we started off with a morning yoga and then it went into a HIIT workout and then a yoga cool down. I love to go swimming. I love the ocean. I love to be by the beach. And yeah.
How often do you spend time outside?
Not as often as I would like, just because given the location I'm in right now, it gets pretty hot and humid, and I wish our weather would accommodate being outdoors more often, but I try my best to be outside as much as possible.
When you are outside, do you prefer being alone or with other people?
I think I prefer being alone just because it gives you that space to be with yourself and to disconnect from everyone around you. For me personally, sometimes I feel like when I'm around people, my social battery dies very quickly, and it could be it could be a lot to take in. Both have their advantages and disadvantages. Of course, I'd love to hang out with my friends and be around my friends, but I recently did a solo trip to England, and I spent most of my time by myself in nature, walking around the city, and I find that one learns a lot when they spend time with their self and the energies around them.
In the future, would you like to do more activities outdoors?
Yes, for sure. I always wanted to try out paragliding, skiing. Skiing has been one of an outdoor activity I'd always wanted to do. A time where I had to adapt to a new situation, it came when I graduated from high school and I had to finally move to college. And I was one of the people that decided ultimately to move out of my home place to go abroad for university, just because I felt like university abroad had more resources and opportunity. It was pretty difficult to fit in. People have different culture over there, different outlook on life, but I needed to adapt because that was the only way I could grow in that environment. I think that some days were better than others. It was pretty difficult in the beginning just because I felt like in the beginning you feel very out of place. Like, for example, when I started my degree, I didn't really had prior experience to the art world and everything related to the art world from in my home country. So when I moved, I kind of was like that one student in between everyone that was inexperienced or less experienced, and it got to me sometimes. Sometimes I cried in class, I had my breakdowns, but I think I learned a lot that you keep pushing through in those situations. It could be so easy to cave in to the bad or the negative, but if you just take it as a learning experience and keep moving, after a year, 2 years pass by, one starts to acclimate to their environment and one starts to adapt properly.
We have been talking about a new situation you had to adapt to. I'm going to continue to talk about change and adaptation and personal growth, things like that. Why do some people find it harder to adapt to change than others?
I think as human beings, we don't like change. I think humans like to stay the same. We grow up, our brain, the way it's formulated, is that we get specific programs put into us when we're kids, and straying away from those kind of programs, whether it's the environment you grew up in or the relationships you've had throughout your life, I think it puts the human being in a state of fight or flight. That's why some people resist change or never want to change.
Now let's talk about cultural adaptation. Why do some people adapt more easily to living abroad than others?
I think sometimes a person finds themselves abroad. Maybe that culture fits them more as a person, as a soul. I think that sometimes people find they empathize with the people that they live with outside, and if one is reserved in their home country and decides to move out, they open themselves up to different experiences. And I think when one finds that freedom and that belonging somewhere else, they start to adapt a new lifestyle and way of living.
What challenges do people face when adapting to a new culture?
One of the many challenges I think people face when adapting to a new culture is sometimes there are some things about that culture that will not resonate with you as a person. For example, me personally, I decided to ultimately move out of America after I got my degree, just because there were a couple of values in that culture that personally I didn't resonate with, and I found it better to find somewhere elsewhere where I could feel more at home and more like everything was in coherence with me.
And our last question in part 3, how does facing challenges help people develop as individuals?
I think facing challenges most importantly, makes you listen to yourself more, makes you follow your gut more. And I'm a personal believer that nobody grows without pain and going through challenges. I think pain is a big life teacher. It's something that people have to go through in order to become a better version of themselves.